We thought it'd be fun to do some head-to-head comparisons between truly great rifles, and we couldn't think of a better name for it than gunfight. And we're going to start the very first one off with two great single shots.
I have here a TC Encore Pro Hunter in 25-06.
And this is my Ruger No.1B chambered in 270 Winchester. Now, a single shot rifle is not for everybody.
It takes a man with a lot of confidence to take out a single shot rifle into the field.
But if you got confidence in your shooting abilities, with single shot you get better performance because you got a longer barrel and a shorter rifle.
We have two rifles here with 26-inch barrels, so you get the maximum performance out of the length of the barrel.
And these rifles are shorter than your standard bolt action with 22-inch barrel. And for us, that just seems to make perfect sense for a long-range cartridge. And we're two long-range cartridges here, 25-06, 270 Winchester. That just seems to fit those cartridges perfectly. Best performance, we get all the velocity out of them. As I mentioned, we've got a Ruger No.1 here. It's based on a Farquharson design, and I know I still didn't pronounce that last name right. That's a tough one. But he designed a single shot rifle to action back in the late 1800s, and it was just a great design. So much so that when Ruger was developing this rifle back in the 60s, they tried blowing this action up just to see how much it could withstand, and they never blew it up. It's that strong of an action. And what it does is it's a lever operated falling block design. So the block here is sandwiched between solid steel, and then it drops down for ejecting and putting a new cartridge in. Extremely strong action, and that's why Ruger No.1s are chambered in almost every cartridge there is. And with that said, the genius of Bill Ruger is back when all the other manufacturers were trying to figure out how to make their firearms cheaper. Not better, cheaper. They were going to new processes and new designs because they were cheaper to manufacture. Bill Ruger figured out how to make the older firearms, but make them cheaper, not from a design standpoint, but from a manufacturing standpoint by going to the lost wax process. So he brought back, when he came out with the Black Hawk, nobody thought there was a future for a single action revolver. Those days were over. He brought it back. A falling block single shot. No, everybody else was going modern. He went back to really good designs, and this is one of the greatest ever.
Like we said before, what I have here is a TC Encore Pro Hunter. It's a break open design which has been around forever. It started out in the Contender, which was modular. You could put different pistol barrels on it. It was a handgun. TC seen the need to beef up the frame, make it for a high powered rifle. You could put shotgun barrels on it, muzzleloader barrels. It's a really good design in my opinion. We'll see how it works.
My thoughts on the Thompson Encore Pro Hunter firing for the first time. It takes a little getting used to, but it's not a bad rifle at all. I don't know that I really have anything negative to say about it. The hammer, it's got a swing away hammer to make it easier to pull the hammer back with the scope on here. That took just a second to get used to where to put my thumb on that, but as soon as I did, it was fine. Wasn't an issue after I pulled the hammer back a couple times and just figured out where to grab it. The brake action is pretty intuitive, pulling this part down and just breaking it open. As far as how it actually just felt firing it felt good. It was a little snappier than I thought it would be with 25-06, but this is also a lighter rifle than my Ruger No1 that I fired just getting warmed up. So that makes sense that it's going to be a little snappier. So good rifle. No complaints. It's not my style. I like traditional stuff, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean it isn't still a good rifle, and I liked it.
All right, now my thoughts on the Ruger No1. I thought it was a really good rifle. You could tell it's a little more precise rifle than the TC Encore. I think it's tighter tolerances. I like the way that the shell ejects instead of me having to pull the shell out, because, you know, in a hunting situation, that just makes it a little quicker reloading. I think it shot really well all the time. The 3 times I fired it, you know, it was smooth in the rapport of the rifle. I think it's a highly accurate rifle. I know there's been some knocks on them in the past about accuracy, but this particular rifle right here, it felt good. It shot great. I just think it's a much better quality rifle in my opinion. Even though I own the TC and it's a great rifle, I just think this one's higher quality.
And I think this is getting into something interesting here. Modularity versus fixed.
That's right.
I think that's what we're seeing here. I think TC saw the future with people wanting modular firearms or modularity, whereas this Ruger No1 is the opposite of modular.
That's correct.
Yeah, and
I believe the TC is great for somebody on a budget, because you can pick that rifle up and pick a barrel. You have 2 barrels in it for probably the cost of one of these in the current environment.
I agree with that 100%. Somebody on a budget that they need something that's going to do it all. I think the TC is a great option.
And I just think that this, if you can afford it, if you were only going to have one single shot, I think this is probably the way to go, if you can afford it.
If you were only going to have one rifle.
Correct. I think they both have their place. They're both great. They're both short, compact. Being that they both are single shots, I think they're just a great compact rifle. So they're a great woods rifle. They're a great hunting rifle.
And then on the TC, not only can you get any number of barrels, what, $350 for a standard rifle?
Pretty
barrel?
much.
400, a little higher quality barrel, because there's aftermarket barrels.
That's correct.
The TC. And there's a big issue right now with TC. We don't even know if they're making them. It doesn't appear they are.
It doesn't appear that way.
So
everything's getting hard to get on them. You still find barrels, but actions are super hard to get.
Anything made by Thompson Center, Smith & Wesson announced they're going to sell Thompson Center, I think, in 2019.
That's correct.
I don't think they're producing anything right now to speak of. It's not pro hunters especially. But there's a lot of aftermarket support out there for the TCs.
That's correct. I think they're still producing their budget bolt action rifles, your compasses, you know, your $300 rifles. I think those are about the only thing that I know that's currently in production as far as of last year. This year I haven't even really got into seeing those in high quantities yet.
So that these being harder to get now, the pro hunters are bringing a lot more than, costing a lot more than these two.
That's correct. Anything that they're not producing seems to go up in value for some reason.
And back to the person on the budget, not only can you get a rifle barrel for the Pro Hunter, you can get a muzzleloader barrel, you can get a shotgun barrel. So you could get the action and you're set, get a few barrels to go with it, and you can do pretty much anything.
Literally 3 barrels, you can hunt almost anything. Waterfowl, pheasants with shotgun barrels. If your state, you know, you can get a slug barrel, muzzleloader barrel, and then a rifle barrel. So you can almost do everything with 1 gun and 3 barrels.
So back to, if you're on a budget, great option. One thing you did mention, Joey mentioned this on TC, I thought was worth bringing up, is the tolerance. Okay, there's things you can do to tighten up the accuracy, like getting a custom pin.
A custom pin. They make a pin now that you can buy aftermarket, that you take a measurement of the hole going through your action and the barrel, and you can buy pins that are up to 1,000 in tolerance for your rifle.
And that would be the hinge pin that's right in here.
That holds it together. And so that would tighten up the tolerances a little bit, because that's how they keep them modular. They have a 1 set dimension where maybe 5 thousandths, and that don't sound like a lot, but it is if you know anything about tight tolerances. And so you could get that in a tighter tolerance, you know, with a pin, aftermarket. You know, it's simple, it's easy, it's inexpensive.
And with the modular, you've got to have tighter tolerances with modularity, or excuse me, looser tolerances with modularity, so that you can change things and swap them around and all that.
That's right.
Versus this number 1 here is fixed. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if some hand fitting goes into a number 1 for each rifle, which would,
and that's possible.
Which could help explain the price of those. And we're getting back into that modularity versus fixed. Modularity has its place, it has a lot of advantages, but I think for somebody that's not really sure what they want, modular is great because you can try different things.
That's correct. I mean, you don't have to go all out and buy 3 different rifles. You could get 1 action and buy 3 different barrels. And
try different cartridges.
And that's, you know.
You could experiment a lot.
It'd be great till you find what fits you. And that's the key. What works for you.
But once you find perfection, once you know what you want, not perfection, what fits you. I think the fixed is better. It's more dependable, it's more durable. And if everything's where you want it, do you really need to be able to move things?
I don't think so. I think if you got what fits you and your hunting style, once you get that set, I think you don't need anything to move. Personally, you don't never want anything to move in a hunting setting, but you know. So once you get that to where you need it, I think you're pretty much set. Therefore, something that's made precise is always going to be the better option. If you, back to affordability, if you can afford it. I think that's just the way to go. As far as true accuracy, not that the TC is not accurate, because it's a very accurate rifle.
And this was not an accuracy contest.
Yes, we didn't get into it for that.
Right. There's always things you can do to tweak accuracy. And the TC, if he is, I didn't fire custom hand loads for it. I fired factory ammo.
That's right.
It was just a chance for us to get a feel for each rifle, our first time shooting each, and our thoughts.
And so we had a good reference of what we thought about each rifle. You know, just going into it not blind, but almost going into it blind, so we could give an honest opinion of both rifles. Not accuracy, not nothing else, just how it felt to us.
So Ruger number 1 versus Thompson Center Encore Pro Hunter.
We're not going to pick the winner of this. We're going to let y'all do that.
Comment below on which one you think won this gunfight. And then I'll tally the results and announce them next week. God bless, and y'all have a wonderful day.